The first time we saw the house, nobody said a word. The wind moved through the broken windows, the rusty roof trembled with every gust, and the old wooden door hung crooked as if it had already given up. Standing in front of that house was a mother holding her little daughter close to her side. The girl looked no older than 7. She wore a faded pink coat that was too thin for the weather. The mother stood quietly, trying to appear strong, but her eyes carried the kind of exhaustion that only comes from years of fighting battles nobody else can see. What broke our hearts was not the condition of the house. It was the way they looked at it. They were looking at the place where their memories lived, the place where they laughed, cried, dreamed, and survived. And now they were watching it slowly fall apart. The mother's name was Elena. She rarely spoke about her struggles. She was the kind of person who carried pain in silence. Years earlier, her husband had passed away unexpectedly. Overnight, she became a single mother. She worked long hours cleaning offices, washing dishes, and taking any job she could find. Every dollar went toward food, school supplies, and keeping the lights on. There was never enough left to repair the house. Each winter made things worse. Rain leaked through the roof. Cold air slipped through the walls. Parts of the floor became unsafe. Yet she never complained. She simply kept moving forward. Her daughter, Sophia, grew up watching her mother sacrifice everything. She never asked for expensive toys. She never complained about old clothes. She knew her mother was doing her best. But life became even harder when a wealthy developer became interested in the land. He owned businesses across the region. People listened when he spoke. Local officials treated him like royalty. He believed Elena's property stood in the way of his plans. At first, he offered money. Not enough to buy another home, just enough to make her disappear. Elena politely refused. The house may have been old, but it was hers. It was the only thing her late husband had left behind. The developer did not like hearing no. He began pressuring her. His representatives visited repeatedly. They reminded her that the house was falling apart. They suggested she should be grateful for the offer. Some neighbors even started treating her differently. Rumors spread. People whispered that she was stubborn, unrealistic, and foolish. But Elena remained calm. She never argued. She never raised her voice. She simply stayed. The developer laughed whenever her name came up. He told people she would eventually give in. According to him, everyone had a price. Meanwhile, conditions inside the house became unbearable. During storms, buckets filled the rooms to catch rainwater. During winter, they slept under multiple blankets to stay warm. Sophia often did homework wearing gloves because the house was so cold. Yet every evening, Elena sat beside her daughter and encouraged her to study. She would smile and say, "One day things will be better." She did not know how. She simply believed it. One afternoon, a school volunteer visited Sophia's classroom. The children were asked to write about their biggest wish. Most wrote about vacations, toys, or pets. Sophia wrote only one sentence. She wrote, "I wish my mother could sleep without worrying about the roof falling on us." The volunteer read those words and could not stop thinking about them. A few days later, she visited the house. When she saw the conditions, she was shocked. She took photographs and shared the story online. At first, almost nobody noticed. The post received a handful of views. Then someone shared it again. Then another person shared it. Within days, thousands of people were reading about Elena and Sophia. People were moved by the mother's quiet strength and the little girl's simple wish. Donations began arriving. Small amounts at first. $5, $10, $20. Messages came from strangers around the world. Many said the same thing. They admired Elena because she never asked for pity. She never demanded help. She simply endured hardship with dignity. The story continued spreading. Local contractors saw the post. Electricians offered free labor. Carpenters volunteered their weekends. Roofers promised materials. Painters offered supplies. Some donated tools. Others donated food. The movement grew larger every day. Yet Elena knew nothing about it. She was at work cleaning offices late into the night. When volunteers finally contacted her, she thought there had been a mistake. She could not believe complete strangers wanted to help. Tears filled her eyes as she listened. For the first time in years, she felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. The work began on a cool Saturday morning. Volunteers arrived before sunrise. Trucks lined the road. People of all ages stepped out carrying tools and equipment. Some had traveled hours just to help. Sophia stood beside her mother, watching in disbelief. She kept asking if it was real. Elena could only nod. The first task was removing the damaged roof. It was worse than anyone expected. Sections were dangerously unstable. Volunteers worked carefully. Piece by piece, they removed years of decay. Then came new beams, new insulation, and a strong new roof. The transformation had begun. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. The house became a symbol. Every day new volunteers arrived. Some had experienced hardship themselves. Others simply wanted to be part of something meaningful. They repaired walls, replaced windows, strengthened floors, upgraded wiring, and installed plumbing. Every improvement carried a story. Every nail and every board represented kindness from someone who cared. The developer watched all of this with growing frustration. His plan had depended on Elena feeling isolated and powerless. Instead, she was receiving support from thousands of people. The attention made it impossible for him to continue applying pressure quietly. Journalists started asking questions. Community leaders began speaking publicly. The story was no longer about an old house. It was about standing up for dignity, perseverance, and the right to remain in the place you call home. Elena never celebrated early. She remained humble. She continued working every day. She thanked every volunteer personally. She brought coffee whenever she could afford it. She remembered names. She listened to people's stories. Her kindness inspired even more support. One volunteer later said that helping Elena felt different because she never acted like anyone owed her anything. She appreciated every small gesture. As the months passed, the house transformed completely. Fresh paint covered the walls. New windows filled the rooms with sunlight. Safe floors replaced rotten boards. A proper heating system ensured warm winters ahead. For the first time in years, the house felt alive again. Yet the most important change could not be measured with tools or materials. It was the feeling inside. Fear slowly disappeared. Stability returned. The house once again became a home. Then something unexpected happened. Investigative reporters examining the developer's activities uncovered troubling information. Records suggested unethical dealings connected to several land acquisitions. Former employees began speaking out. Residents shared similar experiences of intimidation and pressure. What started as a local story became a much larger investigation. Authorities eventually launched inquiries. The developer, who once seemed untouchable, suddenly faced scrutiny from every direction. People who had once been afraid to speak found courage in numbers. Elena never sought revenge. She never celebrated his downfall. She simply focused on her daughter and the future. But there was something deeply powerful about seeing truth finally come into the light. The man who believed money could solve everything discovered that reputation can disappear much faster than it is built. One evening, after all the work was finished, volunteers gathered outside the restored home. The sun was setting behind the trees. The house looked beautiful. Warm lights glowed through the windows. Laughter filled the yard. Children played near the garden. Sophia ran through the grass with a smile nobody had seen in years. Elena stood quietly near the front steps. She looked at the home for a long time without speaking. Then she began to cry. Not the tears of sadness she had hidden for so many years. These were tears of relief. Tears of gratitude. Tears from finally realizing she no longer had to carry the entire weight alone. People around her became emotional too. They understood that they had not merely repaired a building. They had restored security, dignity, and hope. Later that night, after everyone left, Elena tucked Sophia into her new bedroom. The little girl looked around at the freshly painted walls and smiled. Then she asked a question. She said, "Mom, why did all those people help us?" Elena sat beside her and thought for a moment. Finally, she answered softly, "Because sometimes the world sees your pain even when you try to hide it. And sometimes good people choose to carry part of your burden." Sophia nodded and closed her eyes. Within minutes she was asleep. Elena remained there for a while, watching her daughter rest peacefully. It was a sight she had dreamed about for years. Outside, the wind still blew across the fields. But this time, it could not enter through broken windows. Rain would no longer fall through the roof. Fear would no longer keep them awake. The house stood strong. The next morning, sunlight filled every room. Elena stepped onto the porch and looked at the world around her. For years she had felt invisible. For years she had been underestimated, ignored, and pressured by people who believed power belonged only to the wealthy and influential. Yet she had survived. Not through anger. Not through revenge. Through patience. Through courage. Through refusing to surrender what mattered most. Her story reminded everyone of something important. Strength is not always loud. Sometimes strength is a tired mother waking up before sunrise to provide for her child. Sometimes strength is a little girl holding onto hope inside a broken house. And sometimes justice arrives quietly, carried by ordinary people who decide that someone's suffering matters. The old house still stands today, stronger than ever. Visitors often admire its beauty. But the true miracle was never the new roof or the fresh paint. The true miracle was the proof that kindness can rebuild more than walls. It can rebuild lives. And for one mother and one daughter who had almost lost everything, that kindness changed their future forever.